Whoa. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. You guys are so funny. All righty. So, hello, Prudence, Kamari, Christine, Market Garden, Carol Naylor, Christine Brody. Hello, Christine. She came to my event in the UK. Hello. And she's in Australia. Hello, Paula M. Hello, Brianna P. You guys are wonderful. Oh my gosh, everybody is here. Okay. This is exciting. Hello, everyone. Okay. We do have a lot to talk about. There is so much drama going on. I don't know if you all listened to Dan Wooten with Lady C about the birth conspiracies. Like, it's all coming out now in mainstream media about the birth of the children. And it really does go to what I've always talked about. This is a soap opera. Thank you, Lizzie B, for the 5 PDina memberships gifts. Thank you. Snap them up, y'all, because I do put out private videos about my life and things that I'm doing. And some interesting things are actually happening. I'm getting back into the acting world. Well, I've been doing it, but there's some things coming up that are going to bring me even closer to that work. But I just find it interesting what's happening now. It's like slowly things that the Mexican community has been talking about is starting to come out now. Girl. She just divided, gifted 10 PDina memberships. Thank you. You guys give me so much love. I am just, thank you. So, man, the love is great. But it's like we've always been talking about how, the drama with everything. And it's like we've been in this community talking about it, and now it's mainstream. And it's starting to become out to people who are just like watching television, don't have nothing to do with royalty. It pops up in the mainstream news that, oh my goodness, that girl Meghan Markle she had a surrogate, allegedly. Like, there are things that are happening now that I would have never imagined. I mean, this being something that mainstream would pick up because we've been talking about it for so long. But it's like this community and other communities that do things online is seeping into the mainstream because, like I said yesterday, social media is becoming so much more validated through regular mainstream sources that this is where they come to get information. I even heard a mainstream person say how people online, they do their research. You put it out on the internet and people will find it. That's how tenacious it is. It's more vetted, I believe, than you may have someone working a job as a researcher for a news network, because there's like so many people with so many different backgrounds and access to information and in their own friend circles that could lead off to maybe said person you're talking about. There's a much wider reach. And so this is becoming more validated as a source of information. And I mean, it's like, bravo to the people online now, Thank you, Michelle, for your super sticker. That's my friend in the UK. I went and stayed with her and her and Jan, and we had a wonderful time. I just love being able to come. And you all know that, and Michelle's waiting. Thank you, dear Michelle. When things are official with this divorce, with things that are being alleged, although I would not want divorce, I don't think divorce is something you want to happen, but everything is pointing to this. And when it does happen, I will. Somebody coming. I will be coming back to the United Kingdom. Okay, that is definitely going to happen. Okay, all right. Now, so we are talking about. We're going to finish up the Vanity Fair article. And, I went over it again. There's some more information that I got. So I'm streaming from StreamYard. I'm going to try to share some things with you all just because I want to show you some things that came up in the article and give you some more insight. Yeah, just go ahead and like this stream right now. I think just while we're all here, just hit the like button, show some love, and we will get started. It's not like me to do 2 lives back to back, so I'm committed. I'm ready to do this, y'all. So just a like would be awesome as a thank you for the work. I've been working on some things. So that would be lovely. All right. Now, I'm going to also do a quick, well, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I will do it. I don't know that I can do it here, but let me see if I can. I wanted to pull up all of actually the super chats and stickers that I did in my last chat. I don't think I got to everybody. I got to figure out how to pull those up because I want to thank people that supported yesterday. So the thing with Andrew, because I saw some of you on the chat talking about Andrew. Yeah, I don't know if you all heard. I mean, it was a news item, but Andrew is looking about throwing his own family under a bus. He's looking to take the lead of Harry and exposing some secrets behind the royal family. That's what was talked about. And can you imagine the saga? The saga. Now, look, I think that would just be so bad, so brutal. But if, because he and Charles are going at it right now, there are some things that are not so pleasant in the household. And it could be some information that could be very detrimental to the royal family. I mean, what has Harry started? I mean, because Andrew was taking the lead, I'm sure, from Harry and thinking that he could do the same thing. But to Andrew's credit, he hasn't. But he's thinking about it. He is thinking about it. That's what I saw some information about that. I was like, what, Andrew? Okay. So what else did I wanted to say? Yeah, so hit that like button and let's get started. Now, the Vanity Fair article, when you look at it, there is some information about this post-divorce that I'm going to be talking about later. However, that I think is really like explosive because it says a lot about Meghan. We're going to talk about that. But when you go through the article and you look at everything that has been said, you can see how there's things that Harry and Meghan have done and it's bad, but then there's this like washing of what they have done to validate it, to excuse it, to make it okay, and to say, what it could mean or why they did it or their excuse for doing it. It tries to give you this other notion to ponder and think, well, maybe it's not like what people have been saying. Look at it from this point of view. So the other thing is this article is online, and this article has been updated at least 16 times. What's being updated? Why are things not just what they are? Why are there constant tweaks to this online article? Because there's a software that apparently can show you when there's been an update made. And also the article even says it at the end, this article has been updated. So I don't know. That just seems a little, why would you need to do that? Unless, you're trying to change things up a little bit. Okay. Now, some of the things that we talked about yesterday. I might mention again, but I want to get into some other items in this Vanity Fair article that we didn't speak about. Now, one of them was when they talked about Harry working closely with his charities that he founded, the Invictus Games Foundation and Sintabali. And we know Sintabali is the organization that focuses on mental fitness, they're saying in the article, and the impact of poverty and HIV/AIDS in Southern Africa, African countries. The article goes on to say that he has real gravitas when he speaks about his work in Africa, says someone from the couple's circle. And he is free from Willie, his brother. We can see that that's a little dig, I think, because I don't think William is doing anything to hinder Harry. If anything, he's always been there to be the support. So why does it make it seem like he's free of William? But anyway, as well as the future king's supposed dominion over the continent, Harry confessed in his 2023 memoir Spare, quote, Africa was his thing, close quote. Archewell, we know, also encompasses things around Meghan, but this is what I find not good about when they try to bring Harry up to be this person who's doing these good works around his charities. There's one thing that still has not been resolved that Harry is doing around his charities. And that is the work that he promised, or the promise he made to one of the girls, Kiki, that was brought to the attention of Prince Harry when he first came over and was doing some of his volunteer work. And he had promised to always be there for the girl and to pay for her college and to support her. And it was the young girl who was and I don't want to go into what happened to her because it was so brutal, but it is in my list of videos if you want to watch part 1. I still have yet to do part 2. I don't have any real updates, but I'm hoping to get some updates about the little girl. She's older now, but she was just a baby when he first met her, and brutal things happened to her. And she was infected with HIV because of some, ritual and very ignorant way of thinking. And this is a little girl who has had to suffer because of the way people in their ignorance just carries over into their regular everyday lives. And she was abused. And I'm just so sickened by it because, if you make a promise to a little girl that can't even really acknowledge you because she was just like 6 months at the time, why do you not continue on that promise to a little child that was abused and never got the support she needed, and you were the one person there to give it to her, and you've never honored that promise, but yet you want to get all the accolades, and just like what's going on with the parks now over in Africa, where the African park scandal, like Harry is not taking ownership when things become difficult. He kind of, I don't know, he shrivels up and he kind of just forgets about it because it's too much in his face to take on. It's too much of an issue to acknowledge. And he doesn't take ownership of things that he needs to take ownership of because it is his responsibility to do that. He's in the position to do that. And he hasn't done it. And he should be made liable to do these things that he says that he is going to do and be accountable for them, especially if he's going to have all the recognition to these charities. Do what you need to do as a leader. But this article doesn't mention that. It doesn't talk about the African park scandal and what is still happening and how his leadership hasn't yielded any positive results. He hasn't completed anything that he said he would do for this little girl, Kiki. But yet he still tries to make himself to be the person to get the recognition for the good work they're doing. It's just, like the internet does, more than the mainstream media, we're going to keep you liable to what you said you were going to do and what you should do as a leader. Okay. So there is a lot of PR in this article that is trying to support Harry and Meghan's agenda, I believe, but it also exposes Meghan, and I think it should be a good wake-up call for Harry. Now, another part of this article, let me just go to it because I'm not even on here. Let's see the site. If someone, okay, yep, here we go. All right. Other part, no proof. Okay. So we know that they talked about in this article Harry and Meghan's work around her new show where it's been postponed. They talk about the couple been volunteering amid the crisis in Los Angeles and donating to people displaced by the fires, as well as taking in friends who had to evacuate their own homes, which we have not seen any proof of. Okay, we have seen nothing. So they are clearly trying to work off the backs of this supposed charity to make themselves look good in this moment. Now, here's the other thing. I have been watching a YouTuber, and I'm sure you all have seen this YouTuber, Mike Zero. Have you seen what he's been reporting about Meghan's other deals without Harry around? Well, the one story about this new Netflix show. Now, this is alleging. I don't know if this is true, but that man is saying things that I'm like, oh my goodness, that sounds like it would be true. You know, when you hear something that sounds very logical, but we don't hear it in any other news source. So I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? I mean, is this true? Apparently, Meghan or the Netflix people had a test audience for the show with Love Meghan. And it tested poorly because they know they have time now because they postponed the show. So they don't usually do this, but because the show has been postponed, they're trying to get in some test audiences to give real feedback. Okay, what don't you like about the show? What's not good about it that people may not find, good, because they want to make sure it's a success. And apparently they did not like it. These test audiences went all in on this show. And Meghan was furious and wanted to get a new test audience in. She didn't want to accept the reality that the show sucked. And that's the problem. That has been her problem all along, that she don't want to hear the truth. We know people that don't want to hear the truth, don't we? So he is saying that they are trying to help her make this show better, but it doesn't look good. So I don't know. Give me your feedback on this Mike Zero guy. Should I look at his stories and talk about it more on my channel? Because the things he's been saying sound like the real deal to me. Maybe he's got some inside sources. I just haven't seen any articles on it. I've been looking and I haven't seen any. Okay. Now, the other issue that came up in this Vanity article was the issues around racism. And I know we are like, okay, racism again, but hey, that's just what something, I think it's something that Meghan is always going to have in her arsenal to help herself, because it's the one thing that gets sympathy for her. It helps her to feel more like a real victim if she's able to use the whole racism thing. And we can see it's still very much a part of the story around this Vanity Fair article. So it goes on to say, around the Spotify deal, interest in the couple. Okay, so interest in the couple was unslackable, but it remained to be seen whether they were actually interesting. Beyond Harry's uniquely difficult upbringing and Meghan's years of defending herself from shoddy treatment and racism, because they're validating the racism here, validating it to say that she experienced this racism. So whether it was in the British press or from members of her husband's family, yeah, this is what they're saying. As one former Spotify employee put it, the thing you're escaping is the reason you're compelling. So kind of giving her the validation why people want to hear from you, because you escaped because of racism. So you're going to be so compelling in your story because you're talking about the reason why you end up leaving the royal family. So they're validating these things that Harry, we know, has tried to walk back. And that is what I think Harry doesn't understand. He can try to walk it back. He can even tell Oprah during the Oprah interview, that's not what I'm going to say. I'm not going to give one word about that conversation. But your wife is. Your wife is. And she did during the Oprah interview. And so Harry thinks he can say that, his wife wasn't talking about racism. But what he doesn't seem to really understand is Meghan will always use that as a reason to jab at him. And that's going to come later when this said divorce, this alleged divorce they're talking about is going to come. And for Harry, that always has to be just like this thing to his gut that he may always feel sorry for because his family will forever. And I'm telling you right now, especially amongst the Black people, the people who have always thought the royal family is racist, that will always be the narrative. And Meghan helped to fuel and to help to project that racism claim in a way that makes it more real to people who have always thought that in some way or another. And Harry, I don't know how he can reckon that. How can he ever feel that he's ever going to have a relationship with his family again when they will always be seen as racist by so many people because of his wife? He fed the dragon. Harry fed this woman and she took it and she made a lot of bad things from it. And Harry is part of the reason why his family is going to forever be considered racist. Unfortunately for him, that's just what happened when Meghan did what she did. Okay, let me go to you all here. Yeah, exactly, Paula. He validated her lies. He validated everything. And you can't walk that back and say, I'm sorry now, or that's not what she meant. It's like, what? No. It's too late here. He's done a lot of damage. And I don't blame his brother and father or whoever doesn't want to ever see him again, because the damage is so bad that it's going to forever change the monarchy. And depending on what people may end up coming on Meghan's side post-divorce and how they may amplify the racism remains to be seen. But I'm going to tell you right now, sure as I'm sitting here right now, if Meghan is ever able to get the Black community or Black Hollywood behind her, which I don't think she really has, but if they end up years from now becoming more sympathetic to her and what she's had to endure with the royal family, that would be a big machine behind Meghan and her lies and the ignorance of people that don't really understand the monarchy, because they'll amplify things that they don't know. They just will, because it's always on the verge of exploding with any incident. We saw it with George Floyd. So I just don't know how you can reckon that, Harry. Harry. Okay. Now, this is the veiled threat Meghan writes in The Cut. We all remember that she can confirm that when she was within the royal family, she wanted to find her voice. She was not able to have her voice. And then she talked about how she's had her voice for a long time, but she has not been able to use it when she was in the royal family. That's what we know she was talking about. So when repeatedly asked in this interview, The Cut, what she wanted to say with her newly free voice, because now she was in America, Meghan demurred. She goes on to say, I have a lot to say until I don't. Do you like that? Sometimes, as they say, the silent part is still part of the song, she said, noting, I've never had to sign anything that restricts me from talking. I can talk about my whole experience and make a choice not to. But I bet you will when you get divorced. She didn't say that part, but that's the part in my head that I know was in her head when she said that to the person who was interviewing her. She was in her head saying, "Until I get divorced, I'm not gonna say nothing, and I choose not to." Oh, but she will, folks, because that's going to come out later about this post-divorce that we're going to talk about. Okay, so yeah, Meghan, we get you, girl. We get you. No need to try to be demure. I mean, we get it. We know the kind of person she is. So then they go on in the article to talk about excuses for the Spotify contract. Okay, and why it was lost. I mean, you have to read between the lines. You got to use that third eyeball, folks. You got to understand when you see the PR and when you see people trying to tell you one thing, you got to really look in between the lines. So we remember when the former Spotify employee says that Harry and Meghan didn't do what celebrities do on podcasts, which is turn on the mic and talk. They wanted a big theme that would explain the world, but they had no ideas. Someone who worked closely with them on audio projects disputes this version, lamenting that because of Meghan and Harry's insistence on silence from employees and their own reticence, the public doesn't know about good projects that had to be abandoned for practical reasons. It feels like the only story is they didn't satisfy their contract. It's not like work wasn't being done. This is what the article says, the Vanity Fair article. Now, you tell me, is this something that's trying to tell us that Harry and Meghan are good people or bad people, and that they didn't work and try to earn the money that was being thrown at them? No, this is given a clear excuse why it took so long, and the fact that we have the Bill Simmons guys talking about them being grifters. This article is contradicting that because they did have ideas. They did try to get ideas going, but things just did not work out that way. But it wasn't like work wasn't being done. That's a lie. Okay. You only put out one podcast with 12 episodes. It took 2 years to even get that done. Like, you didn't do anything. But they're trying to give excuses. And that's what the part I can't reckon with. Absolutely not. Okay. All right. Now, Rita says that they don't want to be sued. Well, people, you can say things. And I think if it's true, or if you have people or source saying it, it is what it is. And they're putting things out there in this article that I think are not quite really the full story on how things happened, or what we saw, as people in this community. We saw a lot of things about them. We were even I even remember talking about when they got the Spotify contract. Well, when is the episode going to come out? And then they don't even have in this article. You remember all the stories from the girl who was a producer on the show who is not quoted in this article. She even talked about how Meghan didn't even show up to some of the interviews. They interviewed the guest and just put in Meghan's talking points. Meghan wasn't even sitting with the guest because guess what? She thought she was too good. And the producers did all the work. Meghan didn't even want to do the work. Like, why is that story not in here? She was someone that worked for the Sussexes. Why are they not quoting her? And that was a very big story at the time, I remember, because she was really upset about how, they get all the accolades, they get all the support, and they don't look at the people who are working the long hours, doing most of the work, don't get considered for any awards, or the producers, the people that do the work, because I don't know if you know, Meghan's podcast got nominated or won some People's Choice Award. For what? Like, really? That was awesome behind the scenes shenanigans as far as I'm concerned, because there's just no way that should have won any kind of award for People's Choice. That is some ridiculousness, is what I say. Okay, now, here's the other part. It was their experiences that made them into these sociopaths. This is when Harry was talking about, and I spoke a little bit about this yesterday, about Harry being the person they felt, or he felt, that could be the one to talk to these world leaders, because he's calling them sociopaths. I mean, really? I mean, first of all, do you think a sociopath is going to want to be on a show that's titled the Sociopath Podcast? I mean, really? You don't seem to think that, clearly, as far as I'm concerned, because that's just, I mean, calling someone a sociopath is a negative. That's a negative. Okay. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't understand how that even came up with Harry even thinking that would be a good topic to even talk about, or to name someone that in general. So, to implore a season's worth of world famous sociopaths to talk about how they develop psyopathy would be what is referred to in access journalism as a booking challenge. So, the excuse of Vanity Fair, like I said yesterday, is this would have been something difficult for Harry to do because of the high profile of the people that he wanted to not to speak to. But here's the other thing that we have to look at. Harry has a big machine behind him as a royal. He is someone that, although he is in the front and center, all he has to do is show up and be Prince Harry. There are people, just like in the Spotify podcast, working behind the scenes, doing all the footwork. And the only thing that gives Harry his allure, his Superman powers, that gives him the inkling of thought that someone would even consider speaking to you, is the fact that you are connected to the royal family. And that's what Harry did not understand. There was a whole army machine working behind him, a whole tradition of wars and world power and taking over. And like, there's just a whole bunch of things that he just did not look at as being the things that made him who he is when he showed up in his glory. Because we all know when he was in Canada with Meghan and he met with Barack Obama, he did interview and speak with him. We remember, right? So let me just show you a video so we can kind of go back and look at the Harry that used to have his Superman powers when he was with the royal family. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So give me a second so I can share this. Share my screen. Okay, here it is. I hope you guys can hear this. I'm going to play this.
Obama's first interview since leaving office.
Amen.
This morning, our BBC radio partners broadcast former President Barack Obama's first interview since leaving office. He was questioned by Britain's Prince Harry. They sat down in Toronto in September. Barry Peterson is outside the Prince's home in London.
Okay, I don't want to get a...
Wounded soldiers. In that age-old...
Do I have to speak faster?
It was a mixture of personal life and public policy. There was a reference to social media.
So even back then, they were talking about social media. Let's hear what he said.
Something the current tweet-loving president often uses.
One of the dangers of the internet is that people can have entirely different realities. They can be just cocooned in information that reinforces their current biases. I can wake up and if I want to spend an extra 45 minutes talking to Michelle.
About long term, he's working to correct climate change, something his successor calls a hoax.
I can focus over the next 20 years and make...
Okay, I just want to skip through this so we can hear a little bit about the fact that they spoke, that Harry actually did interview a world leader. And it would not have been outside the possible realm of Harry doing that because he had the machine of the power of the monarchy helping him. So, of course, when he shows up to Spotify, he's like, well, I want to interview these people. I want to interview Vladimir Putin. I want to interview Mark Zuckerberg. He's had this already with Obama. But what he didn't understand is you weren't Superman anymore. You didn't have nothing. You were just Harry in Montecito with a Spotify deal. Okay? So Harry just did not get at the time how I think he had been relegated to just an average Joe Schmo. Okay? Just sit down and just be Joe Schmo because you have nothing. You walked away from it. Okay? So that is, I think, why Harry thought he could do that. And Bill Simmons, we know, called him out rightfully that, yeah, you're grifters. You just thinking, and this is why I think Bill Simmons said that. So Bill, when he sees Harry, I think he himself, like a lot of people in Hollywood see now, Harry especially is not really what William is anymore, because William is still a royal doing the work of a royal. Harry is just a celebrity now, a peon, someone who doesn't really have anything to really offer. Nothing. And that's how that all went down. Okay, moving on to some other things. Okay. Now, let me just see if there's any questions. Okay, let me just really quickly see if there's any questions. Thank you so much also, Brenda Carter, for your being a new member. That's awesome. Okay. Going back to this article. Can't wait till we get to the divorce stuff because that's a doozy. So during the interview, the potential employee says, this is when they were talking to one of the employees about some of the stories that people were hearing about Harry and Meghan. Harry's attitude was either, well, why should I do that? Or why are we doing this? The interviewee says they wondered, didn't Spotify pay you a lot of money to do this? That's the thing. Harry didn't even know how to work. Harry didn't know how to show up and just be grateful. He didn't know how to just show up and just be in the position of, what can I do? What can I do to get this going? He came up and showed up thinking he still had his Superman power, so he could just, just question everything. But the people were like, well, dude, you got a lot of money to do this. This is what people at this level do. Okay, so this person inside the couple circle says that he looks like the kind of guy who would frankly, happily work for charities for the rest of his life and would be happy if Meghan made all the money and he didn't need to. Now, what does this say to you? When they put this in this article about Harry, he just looked like he'd be happy running a charity. Meghan, she can go out and make the money. You know what it says to me? And I think it's very interesting how in this very subtle way, they are saying that Meghan wears the pants. Meghan is the breadwinner. Meghan is the one to be respected. She's the one that can get things done, not Harry. Okay? So Harry is in a position where he is just being smacked down all the time, and he doesn't even really, I think, understand his position that he's in now. He doesn't understand that he is being belittled, like right in front of his face, because people don't look at you as the man. You're the beta. You're not the alpha. And I think at some point that has to get to him as a man, I would think. I mean, I don't know, but I know if I was a man and I had my wife trying to tell me that she's the breadwinner and that people looked at me as the beta, I would not take that very well. And I think slowly but surely, Harry is starting to see how he's being stripped of everything that makes him who he is, even a man. Not forget a prince, but just a man. You've already been stripped of your princehood and what that means. Now you're going to be stripped of being a man. Just go cut them off, Harry. Just cut them off. They serve no purpose. Just like this marriage has no purpose. Okay. So the thing about Bill Simmons and what he said basically is giving us the lowdown that, Harry doesn't know anything about what it means to work, show up, and pay your bills. Period. Okay. All right. So now going on in this article, a source familiar with the production of Archetypes says things around the Archetypes show required additional costs to the y'all. I told y'all my uncle always calling me, right? Look. He calling me again. And I just talked to him before I went live. I said, I'm doing a podcast. Don't call me. And what does he do? He calls me. Yeah, he calls me. Okay. If he doesn't keep calling, I we'll see. We'll just see. Okay. Now they were talking about the excuses that were going to combat Meghan's problem with management, and that's what they try to give us in this article. They're trying to tell us in this Vanity Fair article that the issues around management were not Meghan's problem. They were the problem of the people that worked at Spotify. So going on with the part of this article that talked about the Archetypes podcast, there is an employee that refuted all of the extra support and burden that was given to this podcast that Meghan was doing. Virtually the entire Gimlet team would be laid off in a year after this podcast was over. And the employees blamed management at Spotify rather than any individual project. When they talk about this in the article, they're trying to say that Meghan's Archetype show was complicated as a podcast concept, and that all the things and issues that they had was a problem, not around Meghan and anything that she did, but the fact that the management team just had issues with management. They didn't know what they were doing, because I don't know if you remember, but people got laid off because of, I believe, this show and all the money that they gave allegedly Harry and Meghan for their podcast. So we can see a direct correlation to Harry and Meghan leaving the United Kingdom and coming to America, and the fact that you are coming over here getting things that are way out of proportion to what your worth is has caused real everyday Americans to lose their jobs. While you get millions for just showing up as this prince in the beginning. And I can only imagine how that really upset a lot of people, a lot of employees. Now, I find this interesting, though. So we know that Meghan had some other guests on her show. We have to wait and see once her other show comes out. But isn't it interesting how she spoke to Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton, and Isa Schlesinger, the lady that started with YouTube? Like, she doesn't seem to have cultivated ongoing relationships, even so much so that Beyonce would not even come on her show. But then they make excuses why Megan Thee Stallion wasn't on the show, saying that they don't recall being reached out to be on Megan's show. However, I would think the fact that Beyonce didn't come on the show, certain other celebrities didn't come on the show, I'm almost certain they did reach out to Megan Thee Stallion, and she just didn't want to come on the show. And the excuse was, well, no one called us, or maybe the person that was asked about it just didn't know. But I'm sure they did reach out, because that's what Meghan needs to validate her own celebrity. She did it with the wedding. This is why she invited all these celebrities to her wedding, to validate her status as an impending A-lister. Let's come to my wedding now so we can establish a relationship, so that when I come to America and I leave my husband and I'm trying to get my A-list status, you my friend. Wink, wink, So, yeah, Beyonce and them weren't even having it. Come on now. But they make us believe that there is something there. I think there was something there in the beginning, but then things have spiraled out and people just don't like them or her. And it's not good. Okay. Okay, going on about the Spotify as well. Now, in this article, they thought when they gave Meghan the Spotify deal that she was going to be able to go into her Rolodex, right? And she was going to be able to reach out to people that she knew from the wedding. She had a lot of celebrities from the wedding, right? And that she was going to be working her project like the others did that were celebrities that had podcasts as well. And they believed that Meghan was going to be on the phone with the Pope tomorrow if she could. Now, this former Spotify employee says in addition to Taylor Swift, they heard rumors. Okay, that was about the Beyonce, excuse me, that sources close to this situation were telling us that she actually wanted to use and say certain things that she could not say. One of them being the B word. And the sources said at the time, you hear it all the time. It ended up with Meghan calling it in the end the B word, an episode that was titled Slut, that was intended to center on how trans women's sexuality is used against them. And it was then retitled to Human Being by Meghan. And it had to be completely reimagined late in production, that episode. And every episode got more and more watered down and further away from the actual conversation, the source is telling us. It felt like very women's and gender studies 101 that was taught in 2003. So they're saying the reason why Meghan's show wasn't all that spice and didn't have all that gumph in it was because the people kept telling her that were working with her, you can't do that. You can't do that. And no, Meghan, just no. And this is the excuse why she didn't have the kind of show that she wanted. This is what Meghan is saying. This is what is in this Vanity Fair article. And so it's never Meghan's fault. It's not the fact that she didn't want to show up to work and interview people and establish a real relationship. She just didn't do what she thought she needed to do. And this is part of the problem with Meghan. She's very assuming in that she's entitled to things. I believe even entitled to having the success that she envisions in her big egotistical head. That's what I think. But it wasn't her fault. Now, there was also things that they had to acknowledge in the Telegraph article talking about what negativity Meghan got from the other employees. They go on to say, the source who worked in media projects says that Meghan's own relationships with employees tended to follow a familiar pattern. She would be warm and elusive at the beginning, engendering an atmosphere of professional camaraderie. When something went poorly, often due to Meghan and Harry's own demands, such as a teaser for Archetypes being released 5 months before the show premiered, and before there was any, he's calling back, y'all. Okay, I don't know why, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Okay. Meghan would become cold and withholding towards the person she perceived to be responsible for any mistakes that would happen. The source says it was really, really, really awful, very painful, because she constantly was playing checkers. I'm not even going to say chess, but she's just very aware of where everybody is on the board. And when you're not in, you are to be thrown to the wolves at any given moment. That's how the employees of Spotify felt about Meghan. But isn't it interesting how when Meghan was in the royal family, she felt like she was being thrown to the wolves? I find that employee saying that about Meghan is very telling. Because the reality is that Meghan portrays this victim, but it always seems to come out that she is the one who is making other people her victim. I don't know. But then they try to gloss it over and say she's a good person. She's not like that. So they go on to say, it's talking behind your back. It's gnawing at your sense of self, really like Mean Girls teenager. Marie had a different experience with Meghan. And she says that she's just a lovely, genuine person. She's nice. She's lovely. We love her. Now, this person who worked in media projects read stories in the tabloids about Meghan bullying palace aides and couldn't imagine such behavior actually happening. After working with her, though, this person realized, oh, any given Tuesday, this happened. While it beggars belief that Meghan actually shouted at a palace aide and has been reported, a person who had interacted with her professionally says she can be yelled at even if somebody doesn't raise their voice. It's funny that people don't differentiate between the energy of being yelled at and literally someone yelling at you. So giving Meghan, a little bit of grace that even though she's yelling, she's not really yelling. She's just being assertive. She's not actually yelling at people. Two sources say a colleague with ties to archetypes took a leave of absence after working on 3 episodes, then left Gimlet altogether. Several others described taking extended breaks from work to escape scrutiny, exiting their job, or undergoing long-term therapy after working with Meghan. The person who interacted professionally with her says, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better. For real. Her perception might be better. Okay, look. Her perception is not going to be better because that's who she is. She's already left the United Kingdom and now she's over here in America doing the same thing. Don't try to give her an out saying it's her perception. She's just a bad player. And here is my Otis. Come on, Mr. Otis. Come on up here. Come on. Jump. Come on. There you go. You're here. Say hi to the folks. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hello. Okay, Mr. Otis. Ooh, you're a little too close, Mr. Otis. Okay, let's get back into the story. Okay. Okay, sit. Otis, sit down. Oh my goodness, my uncle is calling back, y'all. I don't know why. What in the world? There we go. So he's sitting there. So you say you're gonna sit. You gonna sit, Otis. You gonna sit. Okay. Let me get back into this article. All my disruptions. Okay. Okay. Paula M is saying he has all gossip to tell. Who? Otis has gossip to tell. He gonna talk to you about who? Me? What gossip does Otis have? So I have to tell you guys something funny. My daughter said, no, wait a minute, who was it? No, it was my son when we first got Otis. Because, we're not animal people, right? We like, how come Otis hasn't said anything yet? He's been living with us for years and never said a word. Isn't that funny? And I was thinking, yeah, why hasn't he said anything? Because he's a dog, okay? He can only bark. Okay, the crazy things people say that don't have animals. That should be a show. Y'all would have loved it. In the beginning, it was just chaos. Okay. Righty, here we go. Look, Mr. Otis, you just like, look. What you want to say? Sit down, Mr. Otis. Sit down. Okay. Sit down. Sit down. You need to sit down now. You need to sit down. Otis, sit down. Okay. Oh, it's so predictable. Okay, I want to get to this video I have to show you guys. So let's get through this. Okay. If my uncle calls me one more time, I'm going to take it because he's already called me 3 times. And I told y'all, I warned him not to call me. In the next hour, I'm going to be doing a video. But, okay. She's overcome from being shy in school. Oh, okay. So this is the part where they talk about in the article about excusing Meghan's assertive behavior. Like there's a reason. There is a reason why she is the way she is. And everyone needs to understand this reason because it validates why she's been so aggressive and assertive because it stems from her childhood. Yeah, really, they have the nerve to put this in this article. So this is what they say. It's hard to imagine how someone who seems so earnestly intent on being kind and engaging in a world improving, if also brand building activities could wind up engaging revanchism with people so below her in status. A partial answer might be found in an episode of Archetypes in which Meghan interviews Mindy Kaling. And we know Mindy is still in the gang of Meghan friends because she took the interview and now has become a friend that's going to be in Meghan's show. So I think the relationship with Mindy, if I could just make this side note, is giving us insight into the cultivation of the relationship that Meghan was able to do with Mindy from the Archetypes podcast, but she hasn't really been able to cultivate that same kind of friendship with the other people that she has spoken with on her Archetypes podcast. Just saying. So when Meghan interviewed Mindy Kaling, who assumed Meghan was popular as a child, while attending Immaculate Heart Catholic School in Los Angeles, Meghan tells Kaling, "I never had anyone to sit with at lunch. I was always a little bit of a loner and really shy and didn't know where I fit in. And so I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to become the president of Multicultural Club and the president of sophomore class and the president of this French club. And by doing that, I had meetings at lunchtime. So I didn't have to worry about who I would sit with or what I would do because I was always so busy." Now, this brings to mind Swift's Mastermind lyrics, Taylor Swift's song. No one wanted to play me as a little kid. So I've been scheming like a criminal ever since to make them love me and make it seem effortless. In other words, Meghan was a good person trying to do good things in spite of, at times, because of unkind people. The person familiar with the production of Archetypes says at least one employee who had a terrible experience got a handwritten thank you written note. I remember I spoke about this yesterday, and a gift from Meghan. Is it any surprise that a sense of victimhood and righteousness could continue to exist in a person who had been treated so horribly by the press and her husband's family, not to mention those little B words at Immaculate Heart? That people whom Meghan may have perceived as enemies or interlopers, members of the loathsome media or insiders at the palace, or people who actually knew how to make a podcast, or her pitiful, oh gosh, I always forget how to say this word. I'm just going pitiful father and half sister selling her secrets in history to tabloids for cash. Payable. Okay, might be seemed more powerful than her in some way, despite her immense fame and wealth and privilege. And then whatever happened to them, well, they shouldn't have gotten between Meghan and her good work. As Harry knows, trauma can warp your perception. Okay, you tell me that's an excuse? That is an excuse for being a mean person and for bullying staff? You mean to tell me that you can just throw away how you treat people because of what you went through and what your family did and what your in-laws did to you, that is an excuse? That's not an excuse. That is you trying to get out of being not a good person. And that's what this article has done. It has tried to give Meghan the out, to give her reasons why she has been called up as a bully. And I think they're trying to say, give her a break. She's been through some things, folks. That's what they're trying to say. Okay. Now, going on about Harry in his book, Spare. The book details Harry's issues with his family, opening on his reunion with now King Charles and Prince William, who, in addition to beloved brother, Harry describes him as his arch nemesis, possessing a familiar scowl and alarming baldness. It doesn't get more flattering for Willie in the ensuing pages. Okay, so I think at this point in the article, they're trying to give Harry excuses for the things that he wrote, also not understanding that when he wrote his book that he would be in this position that he is in now, because of the things that he said that weren't really all that bad, they're trying to say. And also giving Harry, of course, more excuses because he didn't know writing what he wrote was going to have such detrimental effects. So this source believed that Harry hadn't absorbed the gravity of what it would mean to sell millions of copies of a tell-all book about a famously insular and circumspect family in the middle of years-long public relations crisis. This person went on to say that I don't know if that's something he understood while he was doing it. Okay. So we're trying to give Harry an out. We're trying to say, just like we said with Meghan, because of her in-laws and what she had to go through, it's okay for her to be nasty and mean and to bully people. Well, Harry should be also forgiven because, he didn't think this was going to happen. I mean, he's been through some things. He didn't really take in the gravity of this situation of saying these things about his family. He didn't understand that. Remembering that he's always had this machine behind him. This royal family machine where he just had to show up. And now he's doing all these things that he knows that his family would not approve of. That is the excuse they are giving him right here. Don't be mistaken about that. Okay. Moving on to some more about this. Let me see if there's any other questions. Some of you are saying that Meghan wrote Spare, and I almost have to say I agree with that only because letting people know she was always more if she wants to and kept interest. Yeah. So where was it? Right here. Yes, Meghan writing Spare, because when you see what's going to happen in the divorce later, the things that are in Spare are going to come back and they're going to be referenced, because I believe when we get to this article, this part about Meghan and the divorce, you're going to see how Meghan has been planning this divorce from Harry. She's been plotting it while married to Harry. And she knew by putting certain things in Spare, as Harry, as the writer, was going to put him in a position that was not going to be good come a divorce, custody. And when I think of it, what comes to mind is his drug taking. The fact that he was so descriptive. We've already seen how his drug admissions have also given him issues around his visa application. But it's also going to come into play when there is a divorce, because when you talk about being a drug addict and being a person that does certain things and there are children involved. I mean, we know there's issues around the children, but the issue around that is also going to weigh heavily in Meghan's favor. And I don't understand why lawyers did not talk to this man about not putting these things in your book. And I would think that Meghan knew what she was talking about when she more than likely tried to get Harry to put that in there or wrote it and said how intriguing it is. You need to come clean with your addiction. You need to come clean and put it out there and just let it out into the universe and just absorb the truth. Just absorb your truth. I mean, I could imagine this woman doing all kinds of things at night, sitting there, laying there with Harry. Harry, it's just you and me, babe. It's just you and me. Let's just go do this, huh? Let's go do it. Just tell your truth, honey. Just tell it. We're going to make millions, all the while scheming and plotting about the divorce. We know this is going to come back to bite you in the butt, right? Okay, my uncle is calling me back again, y'all. I just give me just 1 second, y'all. Just give me just 1 second. I am so sorry, y'all. But that's my life. That is my life. My life. Someone's asking me, Marilyn is asking me, did I enjoy doing Dan's show, Marilyn? Yes. Yes, it's lovely. I love doing the show with Dan. I actually met Dan at Lady C's ball. There are some videos of me with Dan. Photos of me with Dan at Lady C's ball in my members' videos. And Dan is, he's very statuesque. He's a tall man, and he smells so good. He's so kind, and I just really love going on his show. There's just like a vibe that I have when I speak with him. It just all comes out, and it's just like because he gets it, y'all. We all get it, right? But yes, thanks for asking that question. I absolutely enjoy his show very much. Yeah, this is so true. The worst thing anyone can ever do is to underestimate anyone. A fatal mistake, I believe. And yeah, and as someone who has gone through divorce, we gotta walk a tight line because, I think a divorce could break Harry. Oh my goodness, it has already been an hour. Okay, let me get to this part about the divorce. I can't get through all of this, but I want to get to this part about the divorce only because it is just it's really important to talk about that part because we know this is where it all leads to. Okay. Ruby said, hi, Uncle. Okay. I tell him, Uncle's like, what you doing? What kind of show you doing? What you doing? Like, what you mean you doing a show? And I done told these men 100 times about my YouTube channel. And every time I got to retell him about it. He don't understand how this concept. So it's funny that, yeah. Okay. Can I put the link to the interview with Dan? Absolutely. I can do that. Harry still. Do I know if Harry still has his titles? Well, yes, he still has his titles. I don't think that anything's going to happen right now about his titles, but I think something should happen because he has done some things that question him even having a title. If you listen to what he talked about on Lady C, with Lady C today, there is a question about whether or not Harry could lose his title for being dishonest about the pregnancies. And that was something I never even thought could happen. Really, I never thought that could happen. And I think if there is some dishonesty around the birth of the children, that it could be an issue for Harry even keeping his title. Okay, here's the link. Let me see here. Yep, let me share it. copy the link. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Okay, here's a link to my interview with Dan if you all want to listen to that after I'm done. I'm almost done, so just hang in there with me. Just hang in there with me. Okay. How does this work? Okay, here we go. All right, so let's go back into this article, y'all. I'm sorry for the disruptions. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw something from Miracle. Well, who was it? Okay, so Ziggy is saying, I don't think H is as thick as what is it as he what believes to himself. Is that what you're saying? She better watch her back. He may be better. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so this is the other thing. Good point, Ziggy Lee. When the monarchy is compromised, because they're saying allegedly the monarchy had something to do with this pregnancy, with the cover up or whatever. That's what I believe I heard them say. We're dealing with very powerful people. And Harry's got, despite the fact that he has been estranged from his family, his father at the end of the day is the king. And the king and his life extends well beyond into a lot of places of power. And I think Meghan thinking that she could come out with a book or do something later, she's underestimating. This is not Mr. and Mrs. Jones as your in-laws. Okay? Like, your in-laws are not like my in-laws. And you can't treat your in-laws the way I could, but I didn't. But other people may treat their in-laws or their ex-in-laws. You don't do that. And you may be able to treat your family like crap, but you don't treat your husband's family, who is the monarchy, the institution, you don't treat them like crap. And I mean, that's when your naivete comes into place, because you don't do that. And that is something I think we all need to reckon. Despite what people like or don't like about the monarchy, at the end of the day, they are a very, very powerful institution that has buku money, that has a lot of money. I mean, for goodness sakes, the queen and the kings, their faces on the money. And isn't that surprising that Meghan lived in Canada and she was using Canadian dollars, earning Canadian dollars, spending Canadian dollars with the queen's face on it, but she never knew who Harry was or who that lady was on that money? Wouldn't you be thinking, like, the queen, who's this queen? And wouldn't there have been tabloids and the monarchy coming to visit in Canada when she lived there, and, news about their arrival? Like, there was a lot of presence about the British monarchy in Canada. Okay. How do you not know who Harry is? Like, that's a lie. That is a lie, woman. And that's the part I think a lot of people don't reckon. They don't understand. And that's the thing, a question Oprah should have asked this woman. How could you not know Harry when his grandmama is on the money that you spent when you were living in Canada on suits? That just doesn't even make any sense. So, yeah. We know there's a lot of lies, a lot. And I think these lies are going to be coming out, and the truth will be revealed. The truth will be revealed. Okay, so let me just get to the part about this divorce. Let's just wrap this up, folks. Let me just scroll down to the last part of this article. And I may just have to do more in another video, but there's a lot in this article, Vanity Fair. And some people were like, am I reading this right? Is this really a dig at Harry and Meghan? Because, there are a lot of pro Harry and Meghan excuses in this article, but at the same time, it's bringing to light a lot of things that have happened. But I think the one thing that makes this article so controversial is the last part of the article that talks about the divorce, the post-divorce book that they say Meghan was shopping around while still married to Harry. You know, just still, I mean, she's still married to him, but I mean, imagine, folks, imagine you are married to someone. How does a rumor get started that you're shopping around a book that you're going to write once you divorce the man you are currently with? Say what? Are you mean to tell me that is something that just is out there and it's not true? Oh yeah, that's something that is true, folks. That just does not get started out of nowhere. And it goes in line with the fact that we hear a lot is happening with Harry and Meghan around the marriage, and how, I mean, just even when they showed up to this volunteering thing in Los Angeles, and how they just seem so distant from each other. You can tell something is going on. And the way Meghan is, we know the kind of woman she is. There is no doubt, just like what I just read about her in the Cut magazine article, where she talked about she did not sign anything that would prevent her from talking about her experiences. That was a clue right there when she did that magazine article. Okay. Yeah, that, you know, there's just no way. Okay, so let's go to that part of the article that talks about that. There's a lot of good stuff in there in this article. Let's go on down now to the part about the divorce. A few rumors, circumstances around the book, notion of book. Okay, here it is. Here it is, folks. Now, in this article, the pretty towards the end of this article, it talks about a divorce. Yeah, it's about Meghan. Okay, so a few years ago, people, Meghan was circulating a book around. A book, circulating around the book world about another prospective project from Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, the demure. She's so demure. This story, which a person with knowledge confirms the broad details of, was that Meghan's team had a conversation with a publishing house to gauge interest in ideas for potential books, for a potential book. The concept for which there was no written or formal proposal was a post-divorce. Now, not a general book on life after marital dissolution, or one about Meghan's past experience, you know, when she was married to Trevor. This book, folks, its notion was a book that might center on a post-Harry divorce. Say what? For real. Woman, you are so scandalous. You are so beneath the belt. This is what Harry has to look forward to. Oh, yes. Harry, you married a woman that is going to bring you through the ringer. Because I'm going to tell you something right now, folks, right here, right now. I believe it. I believe she was going around trying to see what I could get if I wrote a book about my divorce from Harry. It's a soap opera. Did I not tell you this was a soap opera? Get your popcorn. Get it. Now, not that there was actually one in the works. You know, we got to say that. Just if this, is, Now, if a divorce ever happened, theoretically speaking, if maybe, if I were to divorce the guy, I mean, not that I'm thinking about it or anything like that, but what would your interest be? How much money would you give me? Who does not know this woman was plotting and planning the day she walked down the aisle? She's walking up to Harry like, ooh, I'm going to get a lot of money for this divorce. Dum, dum, da, dum. How much money am I going to get for this divorce? And she's walking down the aisle, y'all. She walking. And she's like, dollar signs for the divorce. Oh, yes, that's what I believe. That's what I believe. Okay. So if this divorce ever came to be, would this publisher theoretically be interested in the book that took place in its aftermath? Would you? Another source with knowledge says that if that's true to any degree, that she would have been approached and not vice versa. They're trying to say that she would have been approached about this, that Meghan would never go out and offer to know what she would get. Oh my goodness, she would never do that. No offer was ever made, they say, and no manuscript was produced. After all, there was no divorce. So this article is trying to tell us that Meghan did not go around shopping this around. Well, why would anybody do that if you're so in love? If you love him and he love you, why would anyone think to bring up a book on post-divorce? Yeah. Why? Why would that ever come up? Well, my friends, I think it came up because I believe it was shopped around. I believe Meghan did. Let me just show you a couple of articles. Let me just show you a couple of things here. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something here. This right here. Sources deny rumors Meghan Markle's team held discussions over a book detailing potential divorce with Prince Harry. Meghan's friends have denied rumors that Duchess of Sussex was approached about a book deal detailing a potential divorce with Prince Harry. Now, here's the thing, because this Vanity Fair article said vice versa, that if this did happen, someone would have approached her. But here in this article, they're saying Meghan's friends that no one ever approached her with this. So talks of another prospective project for Meghan in the form of a book began circulating a few years ago, Vanity Fair claimed in its bombshell new article, which was intended to be written post-divorce. The potential manuscript was not meant to detail Meghan's past experience with former husband of 3 years, producer Trevor Ingleson, but that of her second spouse, Prince Harry. It was not based on current events in Meghan's life, but set to take place in the event of a separation between the Duke and the Duchess. However, Meghan's friends shut down the claims, with one knowledgeable source saying that if that's true to any degree, she would have been approached and not vice versa. Okay, if it did happen. So rumors of separation between the pair swirled around last year when Harry was seen carrying out multiple public engagements without his wife. That was the reason someone started talking about this. Okay. He jetted off alone to New York to meet royals and celebrities before a solo trip to Britain in September, while Meghan stayed in Montecito. So there are several articles that are talking about this. And I think it might be a good thing for me to even do a video on this, because I find it interesting that this is even up for conversation, because, things like this don't just happen, especially if you are so in love, like this article in Vanity Fair is trying to say. It just doesn't happen that people come up with these ideas. It stemmed from more than not seeing you and Harry together. People have seen your body language. People know something's going on. And we know Meghan is the kind of person that needs to make a lot of money. And why would she even say what she said in The Cut a few years ago if it wasn't something that was already on the table or that she was thinking about? Of course, it's all about money. It's all about the ability to be financially independent, because she can't seem to get out and make the money she needs to make while married to the man. If married to the man is not yielding the results that you are looking for, then you start looking for post-divorce results. Okay, well, shoot, the marriage isn't working out. I'm not getting the money I need with the deals. I'm not liked by anybody. I'm not really making the millions of dollars I thought I would be making married to the man. Perhaps just maybe I better start looking around to see, well, how much can I get if I divorce this dude? That makes sense. So don't tell me that this just kind of just plopped out into the world out of nowhere and that Meghan don't know what is going on. Girl, shut your mouth. You know what is going on. You know you put this out there. This has the earmarkings of someone like a Meghan Markle all over it. I see her face. Post-divorce book, post-divorce. What can I get? Theoretically, what can I get? Okay, so I think the allegation that this article, if anything, what it has done, it has brought to light this post-divorce idea that I think is telling us everything we need to know. We are on track with everything we're talking about on my channel. It is definitely something that is to come because it's already being talked about in mainstream. Okay. And no amount of telling us that Meghan don't know nothing and no, all this deflecting is going to make me believe otherwise, because it sounds just right up her alley. Okay. So that's what it is. That's what I'm saying. That's what my truth is. Okay. That's what my truth. Okay. Yeah. This is a good one. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if Doria planted the seed. It could have been Doria. I mean, tell me Meghan is not plotting with her mother, Doria, right now. And Doria is telling her how to use the race card. Because Doria, because she looked black. And even in that article, they were trying to say that, Meghan could show up in the Commonwealth with people that look like her. Don't know people from the Commonwealth look nothing like a Meghan Markle. And no black woman I ever seen that was really black could ever put on her resume she was Caucasian unless she had something wrong with her in the head. Okay? So don't try to talk to me about Meghan looking like the people of the Commonwealth. You better go kick some rocks. Nobody listening to you. Nobody listening to you and your nonsense. So, yeah, that's just I mean, look, if this is coming out in social media, or it has been in social media for a while, and now mainstream media is talking about it, we are on check. We are on par for all the things that are getting ready to come out. And I'm getting ready to just leave you all with a couple of things. Okay, hold on. Someone is saying, because I spoke about this earlier. Hold on. Wait a minute, not that one. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. I am a Mike Zero subscriber and I love his videos. I don't know where he gets his news, but it looks credible. Yes, Susan, it does look credible, doesn't it? It does look credible. So if you know anything about Mike Zero, please send me an email. Here, I'll put my email in the chat right now. Because what I want to start doing is doing deep dives on the things. Because I think if he is credible, he's got some inside sources that I'm not seeing in the news, in these news articles that I look to speak on. And it makes sense. It's not like he's saying things and it's like, okay, that's not true. That's stupid. No, he's saying things. And I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. You wanted something, Mike Zero. Where'd you get your information from? Can you please tell me? Because, yeah, the last few stories that he spoke about, I was like, shut your mouth. For real, for real. For real, for real. Okay, so, yeah. I mean, I think at this point, we just need to look at things are starting to happen with Harry and Meghan, and they're talking about divorce. They're speaking about it, and we cannot not pay attention to that. So Lizzie B, thank you for donating your PDina membership, and for Brenda Carter's membership. Michelle for your super sticker, and Michelle M for your gifted 10 PDina memberships, and also Lizzie B for your gifted PDina memberships. I'm going to try to keep those videos coming, but there's a lot of content out there on my channel, my Patreon, and my YouTube membership to look over. But okay, I've been yapping my gums for an hour and a half now. Unfortunately, I can't get through this article. I gotta call it now because I gotta go do things for my uncle who's blowing up my phone again. So I'm going to leave you all with this, and I'm going to reach out to the people that did super chats and super stickers yesterday during the live. I can't find it right now, but I do want to send out a heartfelt thank you. And I appreciate you all. And thank you so much, Ariam Oto, for your super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Let's keep following all that is happening, all the developments, because it is definitely getting up to a crescendo, I think, as they say, a crescendo. It's a lot happening, especially with Meghan's show coming out. And I think the test audience that Mike Zero talked about, they're trying to scramble and make changes to that show to make sure it is a hit, because Meghan knows if it's not a hit, she is done. And that's why a post-divorce book is going to be her money grab. That's going to be the way I'm telling you right now, y'all, if that show fails, if it has low ratings, the post-divorce book is going to be the manuscript. She probably already writing the manuscript for it right now as we speak. She's like on chapter 10, writing that book, waiting for the show to come out. Because if it doesn't do well, she got that manuscript. And she already knows theoretically, what she could get for it. I think maybe she's been shopping it around, my opinion, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay. I will be in touch. Love y'all. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. Thank you. And like the video before you leave. Like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.